Well, ladies and gentlemen, it's about that time for Duck's super early tier list for Marvel Rivals Season 7.5. Again, this is a super early tier list, so things can vary on later on. And of course, tier lists are opinion-based and bias-based, so might be completely different to what you might be thinking. And again, tier lists are typically looked at the higher ranks, not necessarily the lower ranks, so some characters might play out differently in upper ranks than of course, in lower ranks. And like I said, if you're new here and haven't done so already, make sure to hit that like button. Of course, subscribe to the channel if you're new, because we are going for the big goal of 60,000 subscribers, so might as well hop on. But regardless, I hope you sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Now, just like in all of my other tier list videos, I don't really have a preference in left to right. Yes, left and right can matter in terms of power ranking, but typically in my tier list videos, not really. But anyways, let's dive in. I do want to start with the Vanguard section, and the first Vanguard I want to talk about is actually going to be Tank Pool. Now, Tank Pool is one of those characters that still hasn't really seen any changes, and if you come to here, you can see that he didn't really get any changes. I mean, he did get some, but nothing in particular that was super drastic, because he did lose, the 20 health gained. That is a minus. Then he also got a minus 10 on the upgraded version, which overall doesn't really do anything to his kit. Same with the Banhammer, it's only 10. And then this is what's interesting, is the attack speed from 60 to 40%. However, I don't think this really changes in terms of meta or if this character is strong. I mean, he's definitely still strong, but whether or not he's, still the best tank in the game is definitely up for debate now. Like I said, I do think these changes do impact him quite drastically. But again, I still think he's perfectly fine in a decent spot. For me, Tank Deadpool, as of right now, sits anywhere between S and A rank. I'm thinking more on the S side category. I wouldn't say necessarily he's BIS anymore, but I still think he's relatively good. I then do want to move on to Venom, and Venom didn't get any changes, but the big change out of Season 7.5 is the Chain CC protection, which is just diminishing crowd control from other games, if you're familiar with that. Basically, if you get hit by one stun, you get a passive proc. If you get hit by another any other CC ability, it starts multiplying, and the effects that you reach total immunity by the end of said timer, which is pretty scary for a lot of the characters. I think this whole CC thing is a big change and really hurts, I would say, a lot of the Vanguards in general, and just a lot of the characters that have those unique crowd control abilities. So I think for a character like Venom, I think Venom is definitely put into a better category because now he gets immune when he's dumped with crowd control abilities. So I think honestly he's sitting like SA tier, so I'll put him A tier right now. Now moving on to Angela. Now the thing with Angela is she was super strong. She is a great pick character, going for those picks onto the enemies, the enemy backline, just kidnapping people, moving people around. But the issue is this, the Chain CC protection. It's a very interesting one, especially, and of course, with the character Angela, of just how she operates. If a character is CC'd before she goes in for a kidnap, she just doesn't do anything. But if you manage to be able to factor this into the idea or the issue with the system, she still remains very good at what she does, is getting those kidnaps. But again, you just have to coordinate with your team quite a lot for you to be able to go for these pick plays, because like I said, the CC protection is a little bit rough. I mean, it's on paper, it's a good idea, but in a lot of different games, the execution of this one specific, I guess, safety net is always executed super badly or super poorly, just because it works exactly how you think. For example, Hulk can't juggle people, you can't chain CC people. So this brings in this huge issue of just the game in general because of the character's design of how CC reliant they are. But I still think like she sits around the A tier. Like, yes, this is a big thing, but if you coordinate with your team properly, she can still be absolutely dominant. Now, with this another crowd control effect, I think a character that actually is benefited from this is Captain America. Despite getting some changes, not necessarily in season 7.5, but in previous seasons, I think this the change overall does allow this character to survive a lot longer, because in theory, the way to shut down a flanking duelist, a diving vanguard, an annoying Vanguard, whatever the case might be, whether it's Psylocke, Captain America, Hulk, I guess Namor, all these other flanking duelists and vanguards, is that usually the way to counter them is by using crowd control effects and just locking that person down until they're eventually eliminated. But this comes with Captain America in a different way. Captain America is really reliant on movement and just moving around the map and being different. So I think the factor of the CC immunity and just not being able to lock down this character does improve where this character stands. I think inadvertently, this nerf to crowd control significantly buffs characters that were, dominated by just being locked down. So these characters are finally able to shine. For example, characters that, like I've been saying, like I said just a few seconds ago, flankers and just backline bullies, these characters excel now. So I think we can honestly say for myself that Captain America is going to be like an SA agent because of just how much better this character is going to be able to operate and function in general. Now, for some reason, the devs at Marvel Rivals, Xiong specifically, decided that buffing Emma was a good idea. Basically, in Season 7.5, they reduced the energy cost of Psionic Seduction, which is her ultimate, so she just gets it a lot faster now. Previously, back in previous seasons, her DPS, her diamond form, all got changed. She is still a very strong Vanguard. Matter of fact, probably still one of the better Vanguards in, I guess, the lineup per se. And some of the, I guess, main off-tank hybrid characters, like she can main tank and kind of off-tank in a way. She isn't a primary shield, but she is a good flex. I think that, again, the changes with the lockdown CC does make her a bit better. And I think she's overall an A because I think just like all the nerfs she got previously, the damage, everything else, the previous seasons does add up over time. But I still think we're sitting around the A tier for her, at least in my eyes. So Doctor Strange in season 7.5 didn't receive any changes. Honestly, the CC changes are nice as well for him. Like, again, all these characters benefit from that CC change. So I think he still sits relatively high up. I think it's more or less the factor of what are the team compositions. Again, because we see that CC change, you're either going to be running two of these other comps. Either some sort of pseudo dive team composition with White Fox and so on, or you're going to be running triple strategist. Despite the triple strategist changes, Ultron got a massive buff that makes him, be able to shut down a lot of characters and restore his glory. So I think that a character like Doctor Strange might not necessarily excel anymore because of the rest of the changes to the rest of the characters. So I think, honestly, Doctor Strange sits around AB. Groot. So Groot didn't receive any changes. If anything, he got buffed because of this CC protection. Usually the way to shut down Groot was to destroy his one wall that gives him the CC immunity, hook him in, or grab him with Wolf or Angela, and then this CC him down. But because of that change, he definitely is in a better spot. I don't think he's BIS or S tier, but I think he's A tier. It's just a lot of these characters are just dependent on what you're banning. Again, Season 7, you have 3 bans. You have the opportunity to ban 3 characters. Because of that, I think Groot can shine a lot more because you're getting rid of a lot of his counters, so he can easily shine. But majority of the part is the CC change. So I think sitting him at A tier is fine. Moving on to Hulk. We all saw the clip. We all know what this crowd control effect did to this character. He can't juggle people anymore as Hulk. And honestly, the big thing about this character was the juggling in his ultimate. I think that was a very nice thing that really showed how good certain Hulk players are. I think this was a massive, massive ordeal. And I think this crowd control heavily nerfs him. Believe it or not, what people say, I think these changes still negatively impact the character quite drastically. So I'm thinking CB because of that one specific change to the crowd control. Moving on, we come to Magneto. Now, the thing with Magneto is he still has yet to receive any changes. The CC protection just buffs him essentially, so it turns him into an even better Vanguard than what he already previously was. So this becomes an S tier. Again, you might be saying, oh, this tier looks terrible in your eyes. You have to remember of this fundamental CC protection. Certain characters benefit from it, while other characters don't benefit from it whatsoever. So a character you might think is relatively good because of just their kit and overall uniqueness, actually gets nerfed quite a bit because of this change, which is a little bit sad, but it is what it is. I think it was definitely a change that was definitely nice, but I think the way to trigger the total immunity is a little too easy in some aspects, so they might need to look at this change again. But yeah, that's kind of the idea behind all this. But anyways, moving on to Penny. Penny, again, another character that gets locked down by CC or the shot. Her base health got nerfed, but she does have a little bit more mines and clusters effects. But I still think this character is a niche character, and is only picked at specific moments if you're trying to do a triple hold or so on. I think we're looking around like I guess the B tier, at least like she's in the middle of the pack in my eyes. But yeah. Then moving on to Rogue. So Rogue, again, I think Rogue is very good. Honestly, I think she just takes a lot of time to understand and learn. I think this character is very, very good. But again, the CC stuff does kind of help her because she is a super highly mobile character. Because of this change, she's not going to be getting locked down as much. So I think keeping her around the A tier is fine. That is the reasoning behind that. Then we have Thing. He's kind of in the same realm that like with all the movement restrictions because he is one of those mobile tanks. He's moving around the map constantly. He's actually seen to benefit from this change because like it's just so interesting to what they've done to this game. So I think he's kind of like A B. Put him B. Then Thor. Thor suffers the same. Well, I guess is buffed the same essentially because he doesn't have the CC to lock him down anymore as much. So I think he's B tier. Like usually I would put him a lot lower, but because of these changes to this, like it definitely is beneficial. I think a lot of the vanguards in this game are super playable now, except for Hulk and maybe Angela, because Hulk is in your backline, but he can no longer juggle people, which is a major, major, major change, and I can't specify and talk about how major it is like enough. But that change really just destroys this character. The same thing with Angela. Angela can be played because she is a pick hero, but the thing is, you just have to coordinate a lot better to be able to get the full use and full utility of this character out. But that's kind of the Vanguard section of what I'm thinking of for season 7.5. Again, this is a prediction tier list, so nothing crazy. This is kind of what I'm thinking about. So Duelist, I'm gonna hold off on Black Cat until the end because the thing with Black Cat is I think she's a very unique character. She has a lot to offer. I don't think there's been enough time put into the character to fully understand the full force of her entire kit, her entire combos, and I don't think we'll see anybody playing this character perfectly until maybe next season or the season after. But I think she is a character that has an extremely high skill ceiling, and her general entry in terms of how to play it is also very high as well. Overall, the character is rather unique and definitely interesting. So Black Panther. Black Panther is like C tier. Black Widow C tier as well, or I guess D tier, the same aspect. Like, don't get me wrong. I think in this game, every single character can be played at an extremely high level if the person playing that individual character is extremely, good and well versed with the role. For instance, there's a couple Widow one tricks up in top 500 that are extremely good and know how to play Widow. There are other Widow players that are just don't have the good understanding of why this character is so dominant. I think in the aspect of a general tier list, I think we could put her on the lower level. If this was like a predominantly only high rank tier list, you would probably move her up a couple tiers because of what she's used for in tree picks and just trying to one shot backline strategists. So I think for general, she's around the D tier. Now with Elsa, so the thing about Elsa is that she got changed with how some of her cooldowns work, her percentage, her total percentage damage, and her pellets. Now, generally speaking, it is quite a bit of a nerf to her, but I think the overall power of this character isn't really justified to knock her down a couple tiers because of how impactful her ultimate still is. I still think the character is rather strong and excels in a lot of different scenarios, even with the nerfs. I think the character is still very good. So I think she sits around SA tier, around that area. So Daredevil, in my eyes, another character that indirectly got buffed because of the chain CC protection. A lot of the flanking duelists, like I talked about earlier, definitely are receiving a buff because of this, because CC is no longer necessarily the best one-to-one counter because of the major change. So I think he sits around the S tier category. For a Hawkeye, he is in the same realm of Black Widow that might not necessarily be a good, I mean, in certain aspects is a good character to get certain picks, and other aspects can get rundowns pretty easily. So I think sitting around the D tier is fine. Oh, I forgot to mention Blade. So Blade, I don't think he received changes at all. It's another aspect that like the character can be good if he's placed in the right hands, but he honestly just doesn't do nothing. I wouldn't mind if his kit got reworked a little bit. Maybe not completely redone, but I think some things need to change for him to excel even better. So I think putting him in the C tier is fine. Hella received no changes. Still a super solid character, but I think it's the thing about this character is she's actually really easy to dive if you're playing a full dive comp, especially with White Fox. So I'm gonna put her A because her counterpart, for example, Phoenix, is essentially just Hella but 20 times better. This character since release has yet to see one nerf, except for the health nerf, and that wasn't really anything. But that's what I'm looking at. Probably still sitting S tier, maybe Biss right now. But yeah, Human Torch. Human Torch has been thrown to the backyard and was put down. Rest in Boy Torch. The change to a shift on it seemed in theory cool. It seemed in theory like a good change, but I don't think this character is good at all. Same thing can be done with Iron Man. I don't think Iron Man's that good. I think C tier. He might be honestly better than Torch. The same thing could be applied to Iron Fist. Iron Fist is a very situational character to where you have to ban for the character to excel. A lot of these characters have to be, certain bans have to be going through to be able to play the character at a certain degree. Same with Magic. I don't think Magic's good. I think there's only a couple good Magic players out there. Mr. Fantastic, for some reason, this change kind of hurts him a bit. I think he's really good, honestly. But I just think it's another one of those cases to where you have to ban specifically for Mr. Fantastic to really shine. So I think he sits in the C tier, at least for me, in my opinion. Moon Knight, I think is fine, because I think Root Knight is still a very good combo to do. Like I said, I think the comp idea, when you look at like, the Ignite series, is you're looking more at like Phoenix Elsa, and you're looking more at Dive. In certain scenarios, like a triple spawn hold, Moon Knight plus Groot is a very good combo, so you can run that. So I think putting him in the A tier is fine. Moving on to Namor. I think Namor is still A, for sure. Still a very good duelist in my eyes. But I don't think they're necessary S. With the team up, good. Without the team up, still pretty good. But I don't think is genuinely insane, but still decently strong. Then moving on to Psylocke. So Psylocke didn't really receive any changes, honestly. I think she's kind of just still sitting to where she is. So like A, probably. You can even maybe move her up to S. But I think she sits in between S and A, more than likely. Like an A plus S minus idea. Punisher, honestly, I think he's A. I think he's pretty good. I think if they're playing a dive comp and you just walk out with Punisher Shotgun, it's not a bad idea. Scarlet Witch is D. Don't think she's good. Spider-Man, I think is actually pretty good. Like, you used to be putting him lower, but I think he's good for certain scenarios. I think it takes a very unique player to be able to pull off Spider-Man properly. I, for sure, one cannot play Spider-Man for the love of me, but I think A is good. Squirrel Girl, probably sitting around the C tier. It's just spamming acorns and spamming the shots down main. You're just feeding the enemy strategist. Not necessarily a good pick, can be used to lock down people, but again, because of the CC change, this character is kind of hurt because she can double root people essentially and proc that immunity or that CC reduction, which is definitely not the best. Moving on to Star-Lord. Star-Lord is another A character in my eyes. Now, the thing with Star-Lord is he's always been a character that's been very good, but excels in triple strategist team compositions. And the thing that I've learned the most back, I guess, in the like season one and so on, when there was the Guardians team up, is that if you want Star Lord to really excel, you have to ban for the Star Lord. So you have to ban his counters if you're looking to play that specific comp. The second, like Star Lord or one of those said characters gets banned, it's pretty rough. So I think the return of Star Lord plus an Ultron team composition with a Mantis is definitely going to be back, especially in season 7.5. It's probably going to be one of the more prioed team compositions, I would assume, because of all the changes that Ultron got. And I think Mantis is just good in general. Now, Storm, I think, is like B-ish tier. She's still pretty good. Wouldn't say she's necessarily better than some of the other B-tier characters, but in certain scenarios can have some impact. Um, I mean, I think she's just a good duelist, strategist, supportive character mix in my eyes. Moving on to Winter Soldier. The changes to Winter Soldier, although when you look at it, seems like a nerf to him in general. I think overall it's just a buff because you're buffing his normal gun impact projectile damage. You are decreasing the spell field damage. But the thing about this character is you're reducing the base damage of his ultimate, but you're increasing the culling. So the ability to be able to execute the enemy a lot quicker is a major significant buff to the character. So I think we're sitting A tier. Wolverine, I don't think Wolverine is that good, especially with the CC changes. But I just like I never thought that he was that good in general. Like he's mediocre at best. I wouldn't say he's the best or the worst, but like he has one specific job. If he messes up on that job, it's not the best, and you would probably just go with picking Winter Soldier instead because of the changes to him. And I think it's just a better risk reward because he can play more front to back, whereas this guy's more like front to back, sort of, because he has to dive in and jump, and it's kind of risking jumping in and dying versus you can play behind the shield and go for a hook. It's a more safety option, and you have the basically some of the equal identity because you're just looking for that one hook or that one kidnap. That's kind of the idea behind that. Then moving on, we have Black Cat. Now, Black Cat is a rather interesting character because I think she's very good. I think it's going to take a long time for someone to truly understand and master her 100% to the complete, depths of this character's utility belt. I don't think she's necessarily bad. A lot of people say that she's bad. Some people say that she's good. I think she's like, when some of these new characters come out, people put, a couple hours on the character, say the character is bad, and just leave and forget it. I think this character needs time to develop. So honestly, for this video's sake, I'm gonna put her around like A, B tier. I'll put her like now, if you're actually listening to this video, the reason why I'm putting her at the bottom of A, where usually I say left to right doesn't matter, is because I see her as in between A minus and B plus, if I could put her in between those two tiers. It's because I see a world where this character can do extremely well, and I think people just need to learn and understand how this character operates. Eventually, there will be a point where this character is really good. People actually understand the full length of what this character can do. Or maybe I'm gonna be completely wrong and this character is just complete trash, but we shall see. I think that's where she sits. Now then Duelist Deadpool, I think honestly I think sits around like A tier, probably, I would say. In my eyes. That's probably it. Then we come to the strategist section, the super fun section. So, in terms of looking at the strategists, a lot of the strategists didn't get too many of super massive changes, but some of them got some pretty crazy changes. Most specifically, the Luna one. the Atom one, and of course the Ultron one. So Atom, I think Atom, especially in this current meta, it's around B tier. I think that's fine. Cloak and Dagger, I don't think is necessary S tier, but I think bottom of A. I think that change to their ultimate is rather massive. Gambit is still S. He yet to receive really any changes that actually impact him. So the character is still S. Probably still one of the most banned characters. Invisible Woman, I don't think received any changes at all. Nope. So this character is still S. Jeff. When I look at Jeff, this is a little bit of a nerf to the character overall, which is somewhat good, I would say. I think the character still remains pretty strong in certain aspects in certain team compositions, but that's kind of what I'm thinking of. Loki, no changes to him. It's probably sitting around the S tier. Luna Snow, I think it's put up to A or S tier, sorry, because this change is rather significant. The 22 to 24 is rather big. Yes, they did nerf her ultimate a while back, but I think the character is super strong now. Mantis, she's an enabler, and she has, nothing changed with the character in terms of how she, acts as a character with both her ultimate, her damage boost, and her healing effect. So I think S is perfectly fine. Then for Rocket, I don't think Rocket is necessarily one of the better strategists in the game. I think B tier is probably about right. Now, the thing about Ultron is I think this change to Ultron is insane. You can kill Invisible Woman inside of her ultimate with Ultron ult. So I think this change is massive. I think he goes back to reigning supreme in the S tier. As for White Fox, she's another character like Mantis in a sense that she's a big enabler, and I think putting her anywhere else besides S tier is not doing her justice. But that is kind of the idea behind my tier list. The biggest factor into making my tier list this season for season 7.5 is this right here, the chain CC protection. The reason why this tier list looks this way is because of this. Like I said, this change buffs certain characters like flanking duelists and flanking vanguards or characters that want to be in the enemy's backline. And it nerfs characters that need to be CC'd. For example, Hulk. Hulk needs to be able to juggle people. That is what makes the kit so unique and so special. Because that is removed, I think it really hinders the character in general. So that is the philosophy behind this tier list. Now, this tier list, extremely early in the season. Yes, I know. But of course, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I hope you have a great and safe day. I'll catch you in the next one.